Good afternoon, YouTube. Ian here from Coolice Charge Case and Power Supplies. Hope you're all safe and well wherever you are in the world, and you're enjoying your flying, drone flying, or even EV battery charging. Whatever floats your boat, as they say. I hope you're enjoying it. Anyway, I have another quick charge case to show you. Please excuse me if I end up coughing my heart up in the background. I have got man flu, and yes, I do tell the wife on a daily basis, man flu is a thing. All those with me, say aye. Aye. Anyway, let's crack on. Right, this charge case, it's one of my older designs actually, this one. It's made up using the old setup I used to do, whereby I have the plywood insert that is securely bolted into the bottom. The power supplies are securely bolted to it. And then obviously I have standoffs then, obviously locating the charger at the right height and at the right angle. And then a laser cut 5mm acrylic deck over the top. So, original customer in this case, he was in the hobby, then got out of it, so sold this case, and a friend of mine then managed to pick it up, Greg Butterworth, and he's used it for the last X amount of years, and then he's come to me and said, Ian, I would really like to upgrade it. One, I have a bump controller to add to it. Fine, we can do that. And two, I would like some form of lid storage if possible in the lid, and also then a place to store his MPA boards. So, because this is an old design, didn't really want to spend too much money on it, and time of course, because obviously time is money, but wanted to provide Greg with a nice setup. So, let me lift the lid. As per normal, it's got my usual laser etch plaque on the outside. So let's have a look inside. Now I'm hoping I have some photographs of this case on my computer from when it was built originally, because it will obviously be quite a dramatic change, but unfortunately I think because of its age it probably won't. But anyway, I will try my best to describe things. So anyway, the acrylic deck or plate in this case is the same, and obviously as you can tell, because it didn't have the bump controller before, obviously I've got the cutouts for the buttons and the LCD displays on the PL8 Duo that is underneath. Now originally these charge ports, and of course it's got my custom PCB with the JST PA, I think it was, that the Revolectrix used to use, so you can also use their MPA boards in standard form. And then of course then we added our 9-pin JST XH to it as well, so you can use more commonly available XHs, which is the connection that Revolectrix went to on their later chargers before they wrapped up shop. So originally these ports, and of course then the two main charger ports, were here underneath each of the chargers. Of course now they're on, I've moved them onto either side. Greg did originally want them on the side of the case, which has been a favourite point with some of my recent builds, but due to the way this case is designed, there wasn't the room there, because obviously the power supplies, I've kept them far out to the side. So again, if I ended up stripping out the entire case, we might as well just build a whole new one, and that wasn't the point with this one. We wanted to keep it relatively simple, relatively cheap, but make it a little bit more usable for Greg. So whereby then I moved these over to the side, it then left holes here, and I thought, right, okay, well I can either try and fill them, smooth them, and then carbon cover it, or being as I've already got the design, and because I'm not being fancy and lighting it up with LEDs on this one, I thought I may as well just add the Revolectrix logo instead. So I aligned it just right on the original drawing, so it then literally took out the original cutouts for these charging points. So there we go. So then we've got a nice Revolectrix logo in the middle. Again, I used obviously the 5mm acrylic backing piece, and then I lightly scored on it where the lettering had to go, cut the white lettering out in individual letters and glued them on one by hand, using the faint lines I'd obviously etched onto the acrylic to be the reference point. And I've done quite well. A couple of them I wouldn't like to say are perfectly straight, but you have to look hard on that. The middle leaves, I did use the red acrylic that I've got, but because it's a little bit translucent, because obviously being lit from behind, I then obviously had to cover them with some red vinyl film, and then obviously hand trim them around that to suit. So that made them really pop out with the red colour. And you can just about see, actually, there you go, you can see where it's translucent, because you can see where it's darker in the middle, where the glue is obviously pressed down underneath the acrylic. and then of course then the rest of the letters then on the other side of it. So that creates that, and then we've got 6 mounting points for that, so that's quite nice. Being as I've already got screw heads on the deck, I stuck with the M3 mushroom, or button head as they call them, just to keep the theme going there. Again, air slots, they were all there before, so other than obviously cutting out the new holes, this hole in the middle, I then also recovered it. The other thing I did have to do, again, my original cases, I had the line of 4 6cm fans across the back, so of course then air slots in, air gets pulled out through the back and straight out the back. This was pre radial fan designs now that I've used currently, and because I wanted, because space, should I say, in this case it's slightly smaller. This is the original Maplin, so the electronic store, so it's a bit like Radio Shack. Maplin is, you know, the UK version or European version of like a Radio Shack store in the US, for example, and other places. This case I think is ever so slightly smaller than the Max cases I use now. So the charger being all the way back, there wasn't a lot of room at the back here by the time you took into account the 10mm or centimetre depth of the 4 fans along the back. So I had to take out the 2 middle ones, leaving the 2 outer ones in place, which is perfect because they're right behind the chargers really, so that works quite well. And then I relocated the 2 middle ones then on the deck. So I then mounted this on the CNC and obviously machined out the slots, the radial slots or the round slots on that for the 6cm fan. So they're obviously still pulling air out the case that way. So air out the back, air out the top here, boom, job done. Then obviously added the cable chain then to take the leads up into the lid, and just to be on the safe side as well, because again I felt this cable chain as it went down, it could potentially start to catch the back of the chargers, because again I designed this case one way, and then of course now are trying to incorporate new features and ways around to do things that I haven't allowed for in the original design. So effectively this upgrade probably took me a little bit longer than if I was starting from afresh with a complete case, because I was having to make the modifications I wanted to add work in this environment, and of course that takes longer kind of thing. But anyway, I've done it. So I created, there's another 2 screw holes here, and they're basically holding a little U-shaped 3D printed guide, if you like, on the bottom here underneath, which is underneath this cutout. So as the cable chain then also retracts into the deck, if it wants to push this way forward, it can't. I've got basically a stop there, so it guides it straight down, and obviously then it avoids any aggravation. So coming up then to the deck build, the lid build, this is obviously where the main work took place, because obviously we wanted the bump controller there presented in front of us. So I had a 3D printed holder already, so it was a case of getting that in. Cable chain holder as normal to run the wires up into it, job done. Storage compartment, again this is 5mm laser cut acrylic. Again, there wasn't much depth there was a little bit more in this because it's obviously recessed into the, I had to recess the deck into the lid to effectively give us room for the MPAs, because they are quite tall by the time you take into account the centrally mounted main charging ports of the Dean's connectors and the fuses there, for example. So we created the storage compartment in here, and it's obviously magnetically held, top left and right hand corner, and then also I've got opposing magnets on the other side. So obviously small hinges, and then so that obviously, as you can hear it, that snaps shut quite nice, and it's actually quite good. Created a very small and shallow 3D printed handle, which I think works quite well, so I'm quite pleased. Right, the other bit here is the MPA charge boards. Now they are held in with, bear with me a minute, I'm going to have to disappear, my wife is calling. Hi YouTube, sorry, back again. Wife calls, and when she does, you don't ignore the call, so I might end up having to run off again. But anyway, I got to the MPA. So the MPAs are obviously now secured in the lid. They were before, but with Velcro loops. But because obviously we wanted storage, I had to bring that plate out and obviously create some space behind there, and obviously create a walled garden, if you like, for that storage compartment, which I've done. So now then, how to mount the MPA. So I came up with a solution, again using the 3D printer and magnet. So if I pull out from the bottom, because it's better that way, as you can see, we've basically just got a recess there, recess opening. The leads then will obviously then just dangle there. Top in first, because obviously with the cutout for the leads, top in first, and then boom. And then it's, okay, it slides about because obviously I've got plates then on the back of these boards then, which obviously give us the magnetic points, and they are slippy. There's no rubber to them, so once it's in, that it's not going anywhere. And I did have to go through a few iterations of that because I had some small 10mm diameter by 6mm or 5mm deep magnets, thinking they are super strong, and they are, but they didn't really want to hold the boards very well because obviously there's a fair heft to them. So I changed the diameter of the magnets and obviously then increased the depth of the 3D printed holders. And again, likewise, then this side is the same. So when not in use, the MPA boards top in first, boom, and it just snaps in, and obviously they're held in place quite nicely. So that's essentially it. Basically, yeah, the lower half of this case also went through a transformation essentially then to move the charge points close to the outside edge, so the MPAs then can hang off the side, and also then you can charge batteries there. And also then I thought that worst comes to worst, you can also then put batteries across this middle section here as well if need be, and do that with some of the smaller packs if you didn't want to use the MPAs. And then when they're not needed, they're obviously stored in the lid with obviously then any other small leads then. I've currently got his AC lead in there, so I don't mix it up with mine in the top. And bump controller there, so I think he's going to be happy. The only other change I've made recently, which I've done on Rob Bingham's case, and I'm probably going to grab a video of that at some stage, the signal wires going from the bump controller to the PL8 Duo, I'm now using shielded cable and grounding it at one end, because it does appear that the bump controllers are very, very susceptible to any form of or whiff of interference. Even though I use server supplies, they're definitely not going to be giving any interference out of those, because of what they're originally designed for. So it's just a little bit too sensitive kind of thing. I don't know if this is the V1 or the V2 board actually from Revolectrix, so just to be on the safe side, I've gone with the shielded cable, and obviously I've isolated the power supply as well going to it, or the power feed going to it, just to be on the safe side. Yeah, and that's it. I can turn it on, which is what we plan to do. It's obviously going to boot up, as everyone knows who's been dealing with or had hands in with Revolectrix or seen the various Revolectrix videos. And then we've got expansion channel 1, which ain't going to show me. There it is, expansion channel 1, expansion channel 2, and then the bump. Great. Well, thanks for watching as normal. Please like, share, subscribe, and for all your charging needs, give me a shout at Coolice charge cases and power supplies. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.